Sanam aloha everyone. Welcome to the live stream, and be sure to put your human design type in your profile if you know it. It's always a good idea to do that. And you can do that on the replay too. So that way you can say, hey, I'm a 5-1 generator, and hey, another person can say, hey, I'm a 5-1 generator too. What's it like? Oh, it really sucks to be projected upon, and you can start a conversation because there's definitely similarities. I always enjoy meeting other projectors. There's like, I'm a projector, that there's this unspoken communication that happens. It's like, oh yeah, I totally get you, right? We have, especially when we share the same type in profile. Okay, so today I want to talk about the full moon. That's coming up on July 21st. So on Sunday. And this is the second, if you follow astrology, you know that this is the second full moon that's in Capricorn. So is the early degrees of Capricorn last time. And last time it was in the 10. You remember I did a video on that, on the 10. It's up here. Let me see. I got to get my pen out here. So it was in the 10. Right there, the full moon was in the 10, and then this time it's in the 60. So both are individual, right? And the 10 was all about behavior, right? Behavior of the self. So we got a little heads up on our conditioning around the way that we should act or behave, right? So there's a thing called a little thing called integrity. We don't hear that word a lot on the planet, integrity. And integrity means what's going on inside matches the actions or behavior that's going on outside. And this means that you're in integrity. So, an ancient spiritual teaching is that you can lie till the cows come home, right? With your mouth and your tongue. But your aura can't lie. Your aura can't lie. So you might have noticed this with people. They've got the nice sounding words, right? Like, oh yeah, I take responsibility for my life. And there they are, they're complaining about their past and blah, blah, blah. But I take responsibility. I've done all the forgiveness work, right? Those are the words. But their frequency is completely in victim, right? So we're going to see this more and more in the age of Aquarius and the cross of the sleeping phoenix. It's all about authenticity. It's all about authenticity. If you leave with one message from my channel, it's to be authentic. Authenticity is going to keep you safe and protect it. Your authenticity will bring you prosperity. Your authenticity will keep you healthy, right? Your authenticity will bring you to the right experiences that are correct for you in this lifetime, right? So that's what that 10 means to me, right? Is about being in integrity. And we're not going to be able to hide, right? In the Aquarian age, we're not going to be able to wear those masks anymore, right? People are going to be able to see right through you, right? So it's time to be honest, to get honest with yourself first and then honest with others. Okay, so let's go back to this full moon. So we got a double dose of Capricorn. And it's interesting that astrologically, Pluto is going back into Capricorn. It's in Aquarius right now from September till November, just in time for the election season. And there's elections all over the planet during this time. And this is the last, right? The last grasp for control that we're going to see with Pluto and Capricorn. And then we're moving into Aquarius, which is all the new. And then Pluto is moving into the 41st hexagram gate while the sun moves in there, the 41, but the Pluto is moving in there next year too, into the 41. So that means new, but we've got to deal with this past cleanup stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the 60. Right there. So this is coming off the root chakra. So you want to make sure that you know your chart. Always get your natal chart. And I have the link in the information box. And you don't need to even leave your email address. You can just get it free, unscathed. And then have your natal chart. And then subscribe to my channel. And then follow along and you'll learn about your own natal chart, right? So the transit, this is called a transit chart. So you notice it's all just black, right? If your natal chart has a red side, but this has all black. So Pluto's been in that 60, right? So there's the moon. The moon's in 60. The moon is in the 60th gate, right? And so is Pluto. They're different lines, but they're in the same gate, right down here. So natally, right, if you have the third gate, maybe you have the third gate, but you don't have the 60, well, this is going to be activated for you, this whole channel. And this is the channel of mutation, which I've talked about in my previous videos, the channel of mutation. And interesting with this 360, you know, the 2027 solar plexus mutation I talk about. It's these there's going to be a new species coming on the planet starting in 2027. And so the people that are going to be giving birth, like Ra talked about, the people that will be giving birth to this new species, Ra called them raves. That's the founder teacher of human design. Well, the people that were born in 1998 to 99, so they're just coming into their Saturn return, these people, they'll be like 26, 27 years old. They during this time that they were born, this channel was activated for them. I forget what planets they were. They're probably long-term planets, right, for a year. Not quite a year, like 6 months. Well, this whole channel of mutation was activated for the people that were born during this time, 98, 99. So he said they'll be the ones that will be giving birth. They'll start to give birth to these raves, these new raves, the new species. So the channel right here, the 360, the channel of mutation. Well, right away I want to say it's individual. Again, right, like the 10, it's individual. So it's an individual channel. And that means that the magic word for individuality is empowerment, And whenever you have an individual channel like this or gate, it's acoustic. So sound is really important for this channel. And so this, if you have this natally, then you're an agent for evolutionary change, right? So the change happens inside of us, and that's what's happening, right? During this great time of mutation and change, is it's working through each one of us, right? So, but if you have this channel in particular, then you're a huge part of this. And incidentally, if you have this channel, check your chart. If you have the 360, it's going to influence every other channel that you have, right? So you maybe you have the 1/8 as well. Well, the 360 is going to be like your foundation. It's going to even affect the 1/8, right? It's going to have a mutative flavor, whatever channel that is activated in your chart. It doesn't matter if it's collective or tribal or individual. So let's look at the 60. So 60 is the gate of acceptance, and I wrote some notes down here. So acceptance. Okay, so it's the shadow of limitation. It's the shadow of limitation. It's the gate of acceptance. So as soon as you have the root, right, the root, especially the people that don't have a colored in, they're going to feel a restlessness. They'll feel a restlessness inside them. This means they're under a conditioning field, and it's a pressure, right? With the root chakra, it's a pressure, and it's experienced as a restlessness. Right? I want to get this pressure off me. And so this is going against the acceptance. So whatever perceived and how the mind works, right? The mind projects outward. Like here's the mind. So the mind is always looking outside of itself for an excuse, a reason, a justification of why it feels restless, why I feel restless. It's the mind will go, this is the not self. I need to get rid of that thing out there so I don't feel restless anymore. And that's not the truth. The truth is just restlessness. You're experiencing restlessness in your physical form at this time because you're under a conditioning field. It's a frequency, right? So why is it the gate of acceptance? Well, it's the gate of acceptance is because this is all about transcendence, right? That's all we're doing on the planet as humans. We're transcending all the time. We're transcending the lower 3 chakras, moving into the higher chakras. We're transcending our animal self into our angelic self. We're transcending the shadow into the light. That's what we do, right? We're mutative. That's what humans are. We're mutative. So it's about accepting. It's the gate of accepting. So it's accepting that I have this restlessness and I don't need to act upon it. I accept that there's limits in my life. There's actual limits in my life, right? So this is when you transcend. When you transcend. And the other thing that I wanted to say too is we're very creative beings, humans. We've forgotten that about ourselves. So sometimes the soul, right, your soul will actually create an obstacle or a limitation so that you have the experience of transcending that obstacle or limitation. So you have to look at it like that too, like take responsibility for what's coming into your field is coming in there for a reason, right? Well, I'm going to have the experience of transcending this. So this is one of the sutras for the Aquarian age. There's 5 sutras for the Aquarian age, and this is one of them. There's a way through every block. There's a way through every block. There's a way through every block. But it doesn't come from the mind and the ego and the not self, right? We can't go into the strategy and focus, and that's the old leftness. It's the old cross of planning. That's the last 400 years. It's not going to work anymore. So the thing to ask yourself is, that's why I put this here. So let's look at resignation, the difference between, because some people will say, well, acceptance means I go belly up, right? That's resignation. So I want to talk about the difference between resignation and surrender. So resignation comes from the ego or the not self, right? This isn't you. The ego, not self mind is resignation. Well, I've got this limit in my life and I just can't do anything about it, so I'm not going to bother trying. So let's use a practical example. Maybe you're with a partner right now, right? And you feel trapped, right? You feel trapped, you feel limited in this partnership. You've stopped growing and evolving a long time ago. Your partner maybe have all the cash. Your partner's the one that has all the money, paying all the bills, and you feel like you're completely dependent upon this relationship, right? Just as an example, I feel limited in this partnership. Right? So resignation is like there's nothing I can do. I can't get out of this situation. I'm just going to make the best of it. Meanwhile, the resentment, right? Resentment builds up, the anger, right? The bitterness of your projector, the frustration of your generator family, right? I'm going to just resign. And this is the ego. The ego's ways. I'm just going to resign. I'm just going to completely indulge in my addictions and blot myself out, not feel, and just go, like really just resign myself into this limitation. That's not acceptance, right? Acceptance is surrender. Okay? So acceptance is a surrender. So acceptance is like I accept that I'm limited. I feel limited in this relationship. I'm being honest and truthful with myself. I haven't grown. I haven't evolved. There's no energy in this relationship anymore. I see it as a limitation for me. I'm not financially self-reliant at this time, right? So I'm just going to surrender. So what are you surrendering to? You're not resigning. Resigning means I'm not there anymore. My authenticity is gone. I'm just with the ego and resentment and victim consciousness. Surrender is I'm surrendering to my soul, right? I'm surrendering to my divinity here. This is different, right? I feel like I've reached this block. I feel really limited in my life. I don't see a way out, but I know that there's a way through every block. I know that. But I can't rely on my ego to get me through this block. I can only surrender this to my soul and to my divinity. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm showing up, right? The cross of the sleeping phoenix is all about showing up as yourself. So I'm just showing up. I'm being authentic. I'm surrendering. I'm going deeper and deeper into surrender. Resentment and anger comes up. That means you need to even go deeper and deeper and deeper into surrender, into your divinity. And so you accept. That's what acceptance is. And then what happens then? The mutation. That's what the 63 is talking about. Then the mutation happens. That's when the miracle happens, right? The miracle energy starts moving, and then you transcend that limitation, right? Which is you're out of that relationship and you're onto a new growth opportunity, whatever that is for you. So it's really about surrendering. That's what the 60 is saying. It's surrender, surrender, surrender. So you want to look for this full moon. What is a limitation in your life? Maybe you're unable to face it, right? Why not just write it down? Because you're afraid to face it, because you're afraid to see the truth. And you're afraid to feel powerless, right? When we feel powerless, then we're back into our child self. And that's our childhood trauma that's coming up, right? So where do you feel? Just be honest with yourself. Where am I limited in my life? Where do I have a limitation in my life? And just write it down, right? Write it down. Get it out in truth for this full moon. Remember, the full moon isn't like July 21st and we're done, right? The full moon, okay, I'm done. I've let that go, that limitation. No, it's a trigger. It's a trigger point, right? The full moon is like I'm turning the lights on. In the subconscious mind, I'm looking at this pattern. I'm going to look at it in truth, and then it starts to unfold, right, for the moon cycle. So that's what I would say for you. The guidance I would give you is like, where is there a limitation in my life? Where do I feel limited in my life? And where do you need to accept and surrender this to the divine, right? Stop using your ego and your mind. Okay, but if we go back to the tarot card, so I'd like to look at the tarot. So this is just correlates to this particular, the third decan of Capricorn, right, is here, is the Four of Pentacles. And the Four of Pentacles, it's interesting because I like to look at the major arcana. If you know tarot, this is Sun in Capricorn, Sun in Cap, the Four of Pentacles. It's all about the material, right? He's got two coins on the bottom. He's holding the coin over his heart. He's even got the coin on his crown chakra. It's all about the material world, clinging to the material world for some sort of sense of stability and security, right? Which fits with this limitation. So, but if we look at Sun, that's the Sun, plus Capricorn is the Devil. Okay, so the Sun and the Devil. So that gives us more information about Four of Pentacles. And the devil to me is ego. It's the shadow, the darkness. I would call it ego, not self. And then the Sun is you. That's the soul. So here we go, right? So you follow the ego, 10 times out of 10, it leads to suffering. Some kind of suffering in your life. Maybe not in the moment, because the ego always wants the quick fix, but eventually it leads to suffering, right? You follow the soul, it leads to joy. That's the Sun energy, right? So it's really a time now to be discerning. What am I following in my life? Am I following the shadow? Am I following my ego, not self? Right? Well, that's going to lead to suffering. Am I suffering in my life right now? Somehow, am I suffering with my finances, my health, my relationships? Well, it means I followed my ego, and it's led me down this dead-end road. If you're feeling joy and happiness and elevate it, right? It's not like you're happy. It's not fake happy. It's like just a background frequency of joy and peace, right? And happiness. Then that means you've been following your soul. So what does that mean here? Is to follow your soul is to stop. Do you see this 56? The 56 and the 60, they're programming partners. Whenever you have the Sun and the Earth, they're always opposing one another. You'll see the programming partners. And the 56 up here is called a stop codon. There's one of three are stop codons. And that means the period, right? The 41 is a start codon. That means it's like the beginning of a sentence, the capital letter. And then the 56 is the stop codon, and that's the period, right? That's the period. So what this shadow of limitation and shadow of distraction, right here, it's telling you to stop, right? Don't get distracted from the external world. There's 1,000,001 distractions right now out in the world because there's so much happening too. This means that it's just a reflection of what's happening in the collective unconscious of humanity, right? So this is saying to stop, right? Stop, go inside and reflect, right? And reflect. And it's, what am I listening to? What am I listening to? It's interesting too, because the new moon, I just looked at the transits. The new moon on August 4th is in the 33, also a stop codon. So we're really getting the message that we need to take a pause. We need to take a pause and to listen to our soul, like deeply, deeply listen. And how do you do that? You quiet your mind. Right? You quiet your mind. You meditate. It's a great way to quiet the mind. You're not going to get good intel here with the mind. It's all about the past, right? So it's about quieting the mind, listening to your soul, right? So it's a deeper, softer voice. In a sense, it may not even be a voice, but it could be an impression, a sense, right? Something like that. It's like a knowingness. Whatever it is, it's really, really quiet. Well, you got to get really good now listening to your soul. And your soul is your authenticity. That's your authenticity. And it's always been there. It's been there since you were a child, right? Children automatically operate from the impulse of their soul. That's what's animating everything for you, is your soul. Right, so this is what you want to be listening to. So you want to train yourself, especially now with the cross of the sleeping phoenix. This is what's going to keep you protected, is your authenticity. So that's what these two are saying together, right? And also, if we look at 56, it's also the storyteller. The 56 is the gate of stimulation, the storyteller. And then you've got to look at what stories you've been telling yourself. Here, right? What stories? Did I put that down? No. Okay. So there we are. So what stories, are you telling yourself? Right? So you want to really dig that up. I'm going to tell you right now what's telling the story is the ego is telling you the story about what happened to me in the past. I had this horrible life. This is how we limit ourselves. This is what my mother did. Right? When I was 5 and 6, this is what my father did. And then your parents are doing the same thing about their parents, and then so on, right? So you want to look at what story am I telling myself? Well, it's going to be a limit, some kind of limitation, a self-imposed limitation. And it's usually why I can't, right? I can't do that when an opportunity comes because fill in the blank. There's your victim story right there. That's the story you're telling yourself, and you're listening to the ego. Right? So look at the stories, and you can rewrite the stories. That's one thing that we are as human beings, we're storytellers, master storytellers. That's why we love movies and media and things like that. It's all about our stories. And before Netflix and movie theaters and our phones and all our gadgets, we sat around the fire and we told our stories. It's an oral tradition. That's what humans do. We communicate with one another. So you want to, with this full moon, really dig out, right? Dig out these stories that you're telling yourself. So let's go to the third line, and we'll go to the third line here. So you can see that the moon is in the 3, the 63. So that gives us even more information when we look at the line number, right? And what's this? It's conservatism, it's called. So this is about getting stuck in old habits. So maybe look at some old habits that you've been sticking to, right? That need to go. And And also, if you listen to the ego with this, with the 63, is if I break the bond of limitation, it will be replaced. Actually, this is a truth right here. If I break the bond of limitation, then it will be replaced by something. But the ego will tell you, well, if you just get rid of this relationship, right? If we go back to this relationship where you're codependent, on, right? Depending on them for your survival, right? If I get out of this relationship to escape, I'm just going to escape, and then I jump into another relationship. It's the same pattern. It will be another limitation placed on you until you get the lesson, right? So that's the acceptance. Once you accept and you stop and you reflect, then the lesson will come up. Oh, why I do this? Why do I pick partners that I want to take care of me? Oh, it's my inner child that I need to take care of. Or I believe that I can't take care of myself. Whatever it is, right? It will come up. And then when you surrender to the divine, the insight will come, and then you transcend it. So this is, interesting. So this is holding on to an old ego identity out of security, right? Like the ego identity that says, I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of myself. I can't be alone. Whatever that is, whatever is underneath that codependency, right? This is holding on. So it's letting go of an old ego identity out of security and breaking out of the shackles of these limitations. That's why I called it ancestral limitation, because often we inherit these patterns, right, from our family of origin, our ancestors. So that's the 63. And it's going to, because it's the third line, it's going to be very connected to the material world. Right? In material world, it's going to be security, right? Money, material resources, things like that, to let that go. How are you allowing that to limit you? And then if we go to Pluto, Pluto's in the 5th line, and it's leadership. It's called leadership. So with the 63, the channel of the 63, or the channel of mutation, well, we go back up here, the channel of mutation, the 60 is the old, it holds the old information, right? And then the 3 is the new. It's the new information. It's innovation. The 3 is innovation. The 60 is old, right? So what it does here, what Pluto's doing, because Pluto comes in and destroys, but it also regenerates. It doesn't destroy completely. It's like it takes that garbage and turns it into compost, right? So it's only taking the good stuff, and then it's reinvented. So Pluto's taking all this old information that's held in that 60th gate and what's useful, and then it creates something new and innovative. So why it's leadership is because leaders, right? So the 65, whenever you see the 5, it's like, oh, I'm seeing the gate being expressed, right? It's not the 5th line. You can always see whatever gate it's in. If it's line 5, this goes for you too. You can see, everybody can see it, right? With the 5th line, it gets expressed, right? It gets expressed. So, so this is people looking at and the projected upon, right? The 5th line is people project on. If you're a 5th line, you know this. People project upon you. So the projection, the mass projection with Pluto in the 60.5 is that leader went through these limitations. They went through these limitations. They transcended these limitations. I think it's best if we follow them, right? It's best if we follow them. So this is happening too on the planet. We're seeing that, right, this week in terms of the news, what's going on in the news. So this is about needing to wait for divine timing, right? So the 60 is about the right time in that mutation, the miracle. We can call it miracle too, that great change. will happen, but it's about waiting for the right time. So trusting in divine timing, right? And this is like the ego is very impatient, right? So it's just continual surrender, 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 surrender. So maybe you'll be doing that process yourself, right, with this full moon. And a great exercise to do is imagine in your apartment or your house, wherever you live, and you got maybe 15, 20 minutes to gather up your stuff. Like, what would you take with you? What would you take with you? And what's really interesting when you do this exercise, you really get to see what you value and what you don't value. And what's the most interesting is what you leave behind, right? And then it's like, oh, I didn't really value that, right? I wasn't taking that. I went through this exercise. What would you take? Well, I wouldn't be taking that, right? Maybe you wouldn't be taking a relationship with you either, right? To really look at this in truth. And this is this cherry picking. What you want to take into this new future, right? Okay. So did I talk about the Four of Pentacles enough? So this is clinging, right? Clinging to the material, thinking that this is going to give you your security. Anything outside of you is not going to give you any security. All your security is within, with your authenticity, right? So these pentacles are losing value faster and faster, right? Maybe one pentacle used to get all his groceries bought. He could just take one pentacle. Now he's got to take two pentacles, and it will just continue on because we're in a lesson about what do we value as a humanity. So what are you clinging on to? Here are some questions for you, right? This is scarcity consciousness, this Four of Pentacles that we have to let go of. So you want to look at your relationship this full moon with money and material possessions, right? And this old identity. And look at the people in your life, right? Are you with them because of this scarcity consciousness? Are you with somebody because you're afraid to be alone? Like, just really get truthful this full moon. This is a time where everything will get illuminated for you. And you want to ask how you can loosen your grip. How you can loosen your grip on this. So this is about putting material wealth above your spiritual wealth. You know, the cross of the sleeping phoenix is about spirit awareness. Spirit awareness. This is what we have to start valuing as a humanity, is spirit awareness, right? Our spirit awareness, not the material world. It's all crumbling. It's coming apart. The matrix is coming apart. And how can you allow money and material resources to flow more freely to you, right? Okay. What else did I want to say about this? Did I get everything here? Yeah. I wrote a few notes. Okay. I want to talk about, let me look at some comments and then I'll go into the next part. Talk about this, these global cycles. Okay. Satnam projectors. Satnam, look at that. Okay. 1-3 generator. Oh, is that your kid? 6-2 manifestor. Yeah. 3-5. Okay. Yeah, try to get your correct time of birth, KT. Or at least go to the Jovian archive and plug in a bunch of numbers. It's usually our favorite time of the day. That's what the time we were born. Hey, Linda. Satnam 4-6 emo generator. Yay. Okay. Yeah. Projector. Yeah. So, no, I'm Natasha, and Olga's here too. Oh, you've got the 60 in the sun position. You know this, Olga. Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. So, you can see up here, got another online retreat coming. And this is all going to be on the your soul purpose for 2027, because everything is shifting and changing in 2027. And 2027 is the big magic year. And we're already feeling that. So everything is changing and shifting. Our relationships are changing and shifting. The way we are organized as a humanity is shifting. The way we work is radically changing. So this is really important for the generators in particular, and the MGs, the manifesting generators and the generators. Is like, what's it going to look like? Well, let's look at this like quickly, some keynotes here. So the cross of planning, you see from 1615, 400 years after the Industrial Revolution, right? Everything shifted then. We had the big 400-year shift here. Well, you can see these are the keynotes, right? So you've got the keynote of the 9 coming off the sacral, the 16 coming off the throat, and then the 40 and the 37. This is the willpower center and the solar plexus. So these were major themes for the last 400 years. So this is like brief, right? So the 9 is about focus. It's about using your focus, and that the tribe, this is very tribal, right? These keynotes, these themes. So this is the background frequency on the planet that's kind of herding everybody along. You know IKEA, when you go to IKEA and they kind of have this wave, the arrows and everything, and they're herding people like cattle. Well, that's like this program. It's like herding people like cattle. So if you're unconscious, then you just go along with the call. It's called the program. But you want to be now is authentic, your authenticity. You don't want to be going with the program, especially if there's no resonance. Sometimes there is resonance. Or if you do go along with the program, then you just harness it. It's like, okay, I'm going to use this. I've got my willpower center defined for a couple days. Hey, I'm going to really work this. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use this energy, or a sacral if you're defined, if you're a projector, like things like that. You want to be smart, but know that it's not permanent. It's only for a couple days because it's not you. Okay, so look. So the 9 here is all about focus. So we were taught and conditioned to use your focus, to gather the skills, to get good at something, right? Some kind of skills. This is our educational system, right? So that we can come back here, and this is the channel of community. This is like the foundation, the pillars of the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix, the 3740. And this is where working to support a family or a larger community. And even if doesn't matter what your sexuality is or whatever, right? It's about belonging somewhere. This is the 37. I need to belong somewhere so that I don't have to face this fear of being alone. And so these were the themes. And we worked hard. And it was all about keeping this system, right, of support, government, police, military, educational, the legal system, all that, right, to keep it up. Now it's collapsing. We're not going to be motivated by this anymore. Well, that's going to radically change, though. We're not going to be looking to get skills and qualifications and degrees and a bunch of letters behind our name and specializing on something, right, with the focus. Well, that's going to change, right, because we followed this way, and you'll be supported in life. That was kind of guaranteed. You follow the script, and then you're supported in life. Like your parents, your grandparents, and so on and so on. And now this is falling apart, and we're seeing it fall apart. So, and it wasn't about your own individual. This is totally tribal. It wasn't about your individual needs and your passions. It was very rare that people would step out of this and just do their own thing, right? So the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix from 2027 onward, well, this is a different animal, right? So this is, get me out of the way here, you can see. So we got a whole channel. So no 3740, no 9 or 16. Now we've got the 3420. And if you're got this, you're an MG. Maybe you have this already. And then the 59, the 55. If you have these, you're a big part of the sleeping phoenix, right? If you've got these, any of these gates and channels, you're a big part of this new consciousness. So for you, this full moon, you've got a lot of letting go of traditions. These old tribal traditions have to go. And they're coming from your ancestors, right? They're not you. So the 2027, 24, 38, this is the inner technology revolution, right? The inner technology revolution. So the 3420 is the channel of charisma. The 55, right, is the gate of abundance. This is a big part of the mutation, the 55. The 55 is going to get triggered, and we'll start the mutation. This is our emotions, right? Our emotions operate in a wave. Well, the 55, when it gets triggered, is going to start to compress the wave. And the wave's going to stop, so no more motor. And then this morphs into an awareness system. And this means that we start experiencing life through this. We start to experience spirit awareness. We're no longer in the mind. We're not in a mental awareness system. So the kids after 2027, not all of them, but this new species, will already have this mutation. Right? So this time for soul purpose, I mean, it's all about you. It's not about giving back to the tribe and trying to fit in, right? Cross the planning was, well, what do I do to fit in? Well, there's a square hole over there. I better make myself into a square and get this degree and get specialized in this, right? And then I'll fit into the system. No, it's not about that. It's about you. You, 3420, is following your own convictions, following your authentic convictions, following your authenticity with honesty, the 59, in the present now moment, the 20, to liberate the spirit through honesty, honest communication here, right? So it's really about you following your passions. Well, this to me is entrepreneur. We're going to see a lot of entrepreneurs in the cross of the sleeping phoenix. You can't rely, right? No more 3740. Can't rely on, well, I'll just go and get a job somewhere. I'm going to apply and get a job somewhere. It's like, no, you got to do your own thing now. This is individuality. This is the age of the individual. It's empowerment, empowering to others when you're following your own passions. But we're so conditioned, it's like, I don't even know who I am. Well, that's the first thing you've got to learn is who are you? And human design gives you a really good sense of that. It gives you a little snapshot, right, of your gifts and talents. Who am I? And what are my gifts? And what am I here to do? And there's lots of stuff in the chart that will give you information about that. Okay? So you're even with your motivation, right? What you're motivated to do. That's also in the chart. So it's interesting. I looked at D. Trump's, because he's really in the public eye right now. And I wanted to check out his motivation. Well, his motivation isn't leader. He's not motivated to be a leader. He's motivated to bring hope to the world. That's his role, and he's totally doing that. He's motivated by this, bringing hope. So yours is going to be unique to you. So the other thing I want to say with my gift with human design is I'm able to take these complex, it's like, these teachers, these Piscean teachers are like post people, right? Like a mailman, mail lady, right? These teachers have just got their letters and they're just going from house to house and right? Just delivering the letter. Well, they've got no time, right? You can't invite your mail lady or mail man inside and say, can you read me this letter? And then can you tell me what it means, right? They don't have time for that. It's like, I got to just deliver the mail. Well, I feel like one of my gifts is I'm able to open that letter and to contemplate it and synergize it, and then elaborate and embody it, and then be able to deliver it and expand upon it. And I feel like that's a real gift of mine. So that's what I like to do with human design, to really make it practical, right? Because there's a lot of material, and it's like sometimes it's just like a sentence, right? It's like, what's that? What am I going to do with this sentence? Well, I have to contemplate it and expand upon it. So it's an amazing system, and it's a real gift and a blessing to have right now, right? Like a map, a compass that's going to show you how to, navigate through these times, right, of great change. So keep that in mind and give yourself the weekend. It's more than a weekend, and there's lots of meditations and tools, and to really contemplate on your next step with Pluto coming back in the 41 and ready to move forward. Another year closer to 2027, right? And 2025. Okay. So let me see if... okay. So what I'll do is do some messages for people. Okay. Here. Let me see the overlays. And we'll talk about the generators. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say before we go into the generators, it's always a good idea to look at the ruler too of the moon, and that's Saturn. So this is more confirmation about surrender. And the 22 is the gift of grace. It's the channel of openness, like social openness, but it's also the gift of grace. So it's also allowing, right? When we surrender, we allow these miracles to happen in our life, right? So that's another message too with Saturn there. It's confirming that. It's all about waiting, being patient, trusting in divine timing, but not going to sleep, not going unconscious, like I'm going to indulge in my addictions and wake me up when it's over. No, you got to show up as yourself. And that's the other thing with the sleeping phoenix energy is you're not going to be able to hide. You're not going to be able to hide yourself. In the cross of planning, you could go do some, JOB and not show up as yourself. Just go on automatic, like be a robot. I'm doing my tasks. I'm not really there, right? A lot of people work like that. Sleeping Phoenix is no, you got to show up as yourself, right? That's your authenticity is the only thing that's going to keep you safe and bring you prosperity, right? So no more hiding like in the cross of planning. Yeah. Yes, and I know this from experience. Because I got liberated, I put in quotation marks, in 2012, which means like my life got ripped apart, like everything disappeared. That was my liberation, like everything. I just was liberated into the unknown. Didn't know what I was going to do. And then the only thing I had was a newsletter list, right? And then started this online, what I do now, right? But step by step, but I remember my ego would be like, just get a JOB. Get a JOB and you don't have to show up, and right? It doesn't, you get the regular paycheck, and right? Just kick back. And of course that never worked for me, even if I tried, right? Yeah. So that's what I mean. You got to show up as yourself. I can't do these videos and not show up as me. I can't do readings and not show up as me. It's impossible to hide, right? Okay. So let's go with the generators. And let me know if you guys are entrepreneurs. Maybe you're already entrepreneurs and you know what I'm talking about, because really the sleeping phoenix, to be an entrepreneur is a spiritual path in itself, right? Of trust and surrender. Okay. So the generators really have to, and I've read this so many times in my research with human design, Ra said that no change will happen on this planet unless the generators start moving and start waking up. It's key, right? It's key. We could have all the projectors on the planet awake, all the manifestors awake, the reflectors all awake. But if those generators aren't awake, nothing's going to happen, right? So the generator is really transcending. Talk about transcending limitations. Is they're transcending this. The slave. That's what they're transcending, is the slave, right? The slave, right there. Generators can feel enslaved in this world, and they're not. They need to get out of this scarcity, right? This is the Four of Pentacles, the full moon, out of the scarcity thing, this consciousness of scarcity. This is the victim. This is the slave. What does the slave believe as an archetype? That they have no choice. They have no choice. Others make the choices for them. They just go along. They go along. And it's like, no, this is why we live in this frequency of frustration. That's the not self generator. You want to feel fulfilled and satisfied, especially in your work, right? The generators are the builders of this world. They have all the life force energy. But remember, generators and MGs, you need a projector in your life. You totally need a projector in your life. And you'll know the right one for you. You'll recognize them, and they'll be really, they'll want to serve you. Okay. And you probably have a projector in your life somewhere anyway, right? Because the world is going to, sorry, manifestors and reflectors to tell you this, but it's really going to be the projector in the generator world. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at, for the generators, we're looking at limitations. We're looking at the shadow of limitation and where you need to accept. Where you need to bring surrender and acceptance into your life for this full moon. And so we're going to look at an ego card for the generators, please. Okay. I've got okay. Let's get a card for the generator. Guidance for the generator. Okay, that's a lot, but I'll take it. Okay. So the ego trap card there is called Distracted. And if you watch the beginning of my video, I talked about the programming partner. Each one of these 64 gates has a programming partner, and they're connected. So we've got the 56 and the 60. So the full moon is in the 60, but its programming partner is the 56. And this 56 is a shadow of distraction. That's this ego card, shadow of distraction. So this is distracted by its visual. The 56 is very visual, right? So that would be the phone, YouTube, all your gadgets, watching movies, something visually stimulating, right? Grabbing your attention. And this is the not self, right? The not self. This is what we're talking about with the ego cards. The not self, distraction. So maybe look at where distraction is limiting you, right? So here's an old chestnut. I need to watch the news, so I'm a good citizen. It's irresponsible of me to not know what's going on in the world, right there. That would be a not self distraction phrase, right? And so you need to remember in this case, it's like everything you need to know, you'll know as required. The information will just get to you. What you don't need to know, it's just filling up your mind with clutter, right? With clutter. And that's a big distraction from listening, right? Listening to your soul. Remember what I talked about with this Ten of Pentacles and the Sun and the Devil energy? If I'm following my ego, which is distraction, the ego wants to, like, if you're on something, about to really crack and have this amazing insight, the ego will throw the stone in the bush. Go over there, look at that distraction. Somebody just pinged you. Somebody just emailed you. And you're like Pavlov's dog. You're off the track. The ego does sneaky things like that, right? So what it's going to do when you follow the ego, it's going to lead to suffering. Right? It will lead to suffering. This is making bad decisions and you're exhausted and you're tired. Time just goes by. You've wasted all this time in your life, right? Where you could have been way more focused on what you want to do, right? You're not listening to your response from your sacral, right? The yes or no. And that's going to lead 100% to suffering. But if you follow your soul, and that means you need to quiet the mind. Because the distraction's really for the mind. It's not for your soul. If you quiet your mind and then just listen, taking time, the 56 is a stop codon, so that means to pause. I'm going to quiet my mind, right? And then I'm going to drop down into my sacral. I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen deeply, and I'm going to follow the impulses of my soul, right? And you've got to look at why. Why are you falling for this? Why are you following your ego with the busy bee? Well, the ego is, what's the ego going to tell you? Well, you got to work hard. You got to be busy to be successful, right? And to be successful means that you're somebody, right? You're somebody important. Right? This is the ego's game. I've got to be somebody important, so I've got to be busy. Right? The ego doesn't like being bored. So if we go to the sleeping phoenix energy that we need to really start to get used to, it's all about the now. It's all about the now in the present moment. And the ego does not like the present moment. It gets bored. Right? It wants to escape, right? This is restlessness, the 60. I'm restless. I'm bored. I need something to appease my mind, to leave my mind alone. It's like driving me crazy, right? And then you're off on this wild goose chase of distraction. And there could also be a fear of failure. So I would look at that this full moon is where am I accepting this limitation of that I need to be busy? Why do you need to be busy? Who told you need to be busy? Why are you busy? Why am I busy? Why do I need to always be distracted? And that means stopping and pausing. And in terms of yogic, it's like just stop, look at the tip of your nose. Just look at the tip of your nose because that will focus your mind, and then slow down your breath and the answer will come. The answer will come. So that's what I would look for of what you're running from. What are you running from, generators? And so the cards tell the tale here. You got the 5 of Wands and the 3 of Swords. So there's an inner battle inside. The inner battle is between the ego and a broken heart, right? This is old pain. It's old pain. Ego versus the broken heart. So this is saying that this isn't, you don't want to face this and you want to stay busy. Staying busy is like, I'm going to have a drink of alcohol, I'm going to do drugs, I'm going to do all these addictions. Busyness is also an addiction, but it's socially acceptable to be a workaholic, right? So that's what you're running from, is a broken heart and grief, right? Grief. So this is for all the types, actually, because the world has changed. The world's not going to go back to normal. The world that we know pre-2020 is gone. We're entering a whole new world. And when we enter into the unknown, we have to grieve the old. And that's the 60, right? It's old. It's old information, right? So we have to grieve it. We have to grieve it, right? Because we're all experiencing this loss. Like, this world is never going to return back to pre-2020. We've moved through the portal. We're in a new, completely different world, different consciousness now. So there's grief, right? And this is part of like loss. A lot of people have experienced losses in their life, loss of relationship, even people passing to the other side, right? Losing jobs, place of living, things like that. People are experiencing these loss because we have to grieve, right? We have to grieve. So this is the conflict, the inner conflict that's going inside of you, and this is what you're trying to avoid, right? The grief and the sadness. Yeah, but it's exhausting you. So if you're a generator and you're exhausted, and not the good kind of exhaustion, then you're using all that juicy sacral energy and putting it towards distractions, right? And that's not a good use of your energy, and that can feel exhausting, right? So it's time to stop this full moon and let go of this limitation. Just accept, right? Oh, I'm finally feeling my heart. I accept it, right? My heart is breaking. I'm just going to accept it, and I'm going to surrender more and more into the divine, more and more into my soul. And then the energy will start moving. Energy will start moving. But you'll get out of this conflict, inner battle energy. Yeah. And then justice, as everything comes back into balance. Yeah. Okay. The other thing with the 60, I just thought of this, right? Because there's there's limitation, and then the gift is realism, and the city is called justice. Is justice. It's because you got the justice card. So what's the gate of acceptance? 60 is the gate of acceptance. It's just like what it just is. That's what justice is. It just is. This is how it is. I'm not going to fight it. It just is, right? The world is just is. My life just is. This is acceptance. Acceptance, going into that state of acceptance. It just is. And that's the irony, right? As soon as we go into acceptance, not resignation, but acceptance, and being part of the process, I'm part of this process that I'm in, then the energy starts to move, right? That miracle energy can come in. Okay. So that's the generators. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nobody's a slave. Generator, you're not a slave. Manifesting generator, you're not a slave. Nobody has the right to access your energy. No one has that right. Right? The sleeping phoenix energy, this new cross of the sleeping phoenix is all about empowerment. Right? Doing what you love to do. Following your passion. Your authenticity will bring you prosperity. Your authenticity will keep you healthy. Your authenticity will keep you safe. You got to know that. That's your superpower, is your authenticity. Okay. So we're doing an ego card, MGs. We're talking about the full moon and the 60th gate. And Pluto's there too. And it's about acceptance. It's about surrendering. Not being victimized by any limitations in your life. Okay. So we'll do an ego card first for our manifesting generator friends. What do our manifesting generator friends? What's stopping them from surrender and trusting life, right? The MGs and the Gs, they gotta trust life. They have to be in the flow. That's your word, is flow. And to trust life 100%. Let's see what the ego is telling the MGs. Because we really want the MGs to wake up. Okay. I think this is a sneaky one. Yeah, sneaky ego. Oh. Okay. Let's see, we'll do a tarot too for the MGs. We have a tarot card for the MGs. Okay. Okay. You got the You're All Alone. It's not a song, You're All Alone. One is the loneliest number, right? Okay. So this fits with the 37. Okay. So this is ego nonsense, MGs, right? The ego's telling you that you're all alone. You're all alone. Right? You have to do everything yourself. Yeah. That there's no support for you. No support for you. So this is what we're leaving behind. I want to go back to this cross of planning, right? That global cycle, right? If we go to the 37. So this is the 400-year cycle that we're leaving, the cross of planning, right? So there's the 37. So we were motivated by these themes. You can go back earlier to my video to watch this. But the 37 is about support, right? So this is a theme from the cross of planning. Well, I have to belong somewhere. I need to partner up with somebody I better have kids so they can take care of me when I'm in my old age. Like that kind of thinking, right? I need support. And what it is this fear. There's like a terror of being alone, all by yourself, right? With the cross of planning. Well, these themes are going. These themes are going now for the sleeping phoenix. Now it's time to be self-reliant, MGs. Self-reliant. And what does that mean? Does that mean you're relying on your ego's advice? No. It means you're relying on your soul. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your soul, right? And this is your authenticity, is your soul. Your soul is your number one guide. It's not like having your own master or guru inside you, master teacher, right? The person the entity, I don't want to call it a person, the entity you trust the most is already inside you. So you're not alone. You're never alone, right? You have this energy inside you that's been with you since childhood, right? It's been with you since childhood. This is what's animating everything, is your soul. It's animating everything. And we operate it from this place, the impulses of our soul since childhood, but it got conditioned out of us, especially the MGs and the Gs. They're the most conditioned by their mind. They're the most brainwashed out of all the types. And that means they automatically go to their mind, right? To guide them and to navigate through life, they go to their mind, and their mind's not their friend, right? So right now the ego is telling you that you're all alone, right? You need to be with people that maybe aren't correct for you, right? This is what we end up doing in relationships that are not correct for you. They're not healthy for you. You're not growing and evolving in these relationships or these people, the community of people. So you want to know your frequency. You want to know your frequency during this time, because this is a limitation. And the limitation, I feel, is like your belief system around alone, what it means to be alone. Yeah. Because the other thing that we want to, for the sleeping phoenix, we want to be okay on our own. Because remember, we're this 19 is the 1949. That's part of the mutation too. This is getting split. This channel's getting split. And the 19 is codependency. And we're all letting go of this as a collective, our codependency, our dependency on outside authorities to tell us what to do, to tell us how we should behave, what to think, right? All of those things, we're letting that go. So you need to be okay on your own. And that's empowering, right? Sleeping Phoenix, it's all about empowerment, empowering. And the other card that you got here is the ego's telling you that self-love is selfish. This is the other thing that we're battling with now, right? Everything's upside down. You're being selfish if you research. You're being selfish if you don't do everything the outside authorities telling you to do. Tribal, this is tribe. This is how the tribe controlled people. Through shame, right? Through shame and control. That's how they kept people in line, right? Shame and control. Shame and guilt and control. That's how they control people. So this is self-love is selfish. So that's a limiting belief that you need to let go of for this full moon, MGs, right? So this is like you were taught that it's wrong to love and care for yourself. The tribe is very threatened by any individuality, by authenticity, by somebody that's actually listening to their own inner authority. They're threatened by that. What if everybody did that, right? Well, we'd all be empowered. That's why. That's what. But we couldn't be controlled. We can't be controlled. So this self-love is selfish is keeping you away from the soul, your soul, right? That you have to take care of yourself. Who else is going to take care of you better than you, right? You have to take care of you. So you're out of your power when you don't care for your own needs and you're relying on something outside of you to take care of you. That's dangerous. Dangerous road to be traveling down right now is thinking that other people are going to take care of you, right? That's not the new frequency. The new frequency is all about self-empowerment, right? And cultivating that deep, deep relationship with your own soul. That's what you can count on, right now. Okay? So it's not selfish. And remember that the theme, the theme of the cross of planning has been the 37, and it's been in the first line since 1961. In 2027, it's moving into the 55 down here, into the 6th line. And it's the keynote of selfish, 6th line. And what does it mean by selfish? It's not ego, like it's just me, and self-centered, and I'm just going to worship my ego and do whatever my ego wants. That's only going to lead to suffering. Selfish means that I put myself, my soul first. I put myself myself, my soul first. That means that my primary relationship is not me and another person. It's me and my own soul, number one. That's my priority. That's my priority relationship. That's what I go to make my decisions, right? I go to my soul first, right? That's who I listen to. So 55.6, I mean, that's going to really shift it up, right? Because the first line was all about fear. Run into the crowd. I got to be with the crowd. I'm safe with the crowd. That's all changing and shifting, right? We're moving into a sixth line. And it's the line of selfishness. So in the external, it looks like it's selfish. You can be accused. You'll be accused for sure of being selfish, but from not self people, right? Yeah. Okay, and then the tarot card you got is the Eight of Wands. And that means movement. It's time to move. Time to move, MG. I can't believe I'm saying this to the MGs. Right? Because the MGs are all about movement. They're busy, 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 the MGs. So this is about movement from your soul, right? Remember I talked about the Four of Pentacles is the sun and the devil. And the devil is the ego, right? So I'm either operating from my soul, I'm getting messages, impulses from my soul to go this way, or the ego is sending me this way. Who am I going to listen to? If I listen to ego, it leads to suffering. It leads to frustration, right? It leads to anger for the MGs too. That's where it's going to go. If you're feeling depressed or frustrated or angry or apathetic, then you're listening to your ego. If you're feeling joyous and happy, then you're listening to your soul. It's that easy. So that's my sense, is that the Eight of Wands is like it's time to start moving from your soul, and this is going to break you out of whatever these limited thoughts are, right? They're just thoughts from the ego trying to trick you, right? Remember that you are transcending this archetype of the slave as the MG. Okay. Yeah. So your question here, I would ask yourself, is how can you be more in the flow? And how can you align your efforts, right, with your soul? With your soul. So maybe it means pausing, take a break, get your journal out, meditate, and then committing to, like, I'm going to operate from the impulses of my soul today, not my ego. And I'm going to love myself up. I don't care what other people think. I'm loving myself up, right? I'm taking care of my own needs. I'm not going to depend on other people to take care of me for me, right? I have to start taking care of myself. Okay. That's what I got for the MGs. And then let's look at 117 already. I'm a 1-8, so I'm all about the now, the present now. Let's go for the manifestors. Okay. And we'll do an ego card for the manifestors. And we're talking about the full moon in the shadow of limitation, the gate of acceptance. That one popped out. Oh. Okay. This is really easy. Depression. And then you got the Six of Cups right here. Okay. So the not self manifestor. Remember, the manifestors receive the divine inspiration. They get their marching orders. And then they inform, they share with other people who that will impact, and they share it with other people, and then they initiate. That's their strategy. I'm not talking authority, just strategy. Well, the not self, if they're not doing that, if they're not initiating, if they're not listening to their divine guidance, they're not informing, well, they're going to feel angry. They're going to feel angry. And what's anger is depression is anger turned inward. So you're not expressing the anger outward, you're expressing it inside, and that leads to depression. Right? So this is about getting stuck in a rut. The ego's got you stuck in a rut. Stuck in a rut would be, right, the old habits, stuck in old habits. Maybe some old addictions are coming up, right? And it's saying with the depression, with the anger, is there's some kind of loss that you experienced, right? Maybe your life, because it's the Six of Cups here, and this is about nostalgia, right? Something from your childhood. Maybe your parents got divorced, or one of your parents died, or someone close to you died. Some kind of loss you experienced in childhood. Maybe even lost your childhood. That happens too. Like you lost your innocence, right? And that's coming up to the surface, right? So there's some kind of loss. If you're depressed, it's like something hasn't been expressed. You're not allowing it to be expressed with the 60. So remember, the 60 is all about the old information, right? And Pluto's in there, sifting and sorting. Well, we don't need that. We don't need that. Oh, this is good. Let's transmute this old information. So this could be old hurts and wounds, right, from childhood. Right? And even you may think, well, I've already dealt with my child. I've done inner child work up and down. I'm done. There's nothing there. Well, there is something there because you're feeling depressed. That's the proof, right? Depression. So don't listen to the mind. It's just like allow. Remember, this is the gate, manifestors of acceptance. So I'm just going to accept that this is how I feel. I'm not going to try to change it. I'm not running out and getting pills. Not going to the doctor, the pill pusher, right? I'm not going to get on some pharmaceuticals. I'm just going to accept. I'm going to accept this is how I'm feeling. I'm going to surrender. I'm going to surrender to the divine. That there's a way through every block. The miracle, I'm going to allow for a miracle to come in. Right? But I need to accept first that this is what I'm feeling. And it's okay. Give yourself permission. It's okay for me to feel this way. I don't need to figure it out or try to get rid of it. I'm just going to accept it. Because it's just going to chase you. If you get rid of one limitation, maybe the mind is telling you, well, I'm so limited because I need to get out of this situation or out of this job. And then you leave, but the depression follows you. It will follow you until you accept it, and then you'll transcend it. Right? So it can make you exhausted. And this is, because it's the Six of Cups, your inner child may be running the show, and it's like the refusal to move forward. But it's like, where is this coming from? You don't need to figure it out. Just surrender. Just keep surrendering, and following your soul. So in terms of a manifestor, maybe it's, if you think that, I share so much already, then you probably aren't as a manifestor, because it's not your lane. You know what I mean? It's not comfortable for you to share. So maybe it's sharing even more. Like going to your partner, I'm been really depressed. Just sharing what's going on with you. Because people can project a lot of stuff on manifestors, they've got it all together and they don't really care about anybody. They got no heart, manifestors can get a bad rap like that. But if you start sharing, not from a victim place, but this is what's going on for me, right? I've been depressed for a couple months. I've been in a funk. I've stuck in a rut. Even that in itself will start moving the energy, right? Okay. So yeah, that's the word is trust and surrender, right? That it's not going to be, because the 60, right? The 60 can also get into the fear of nothing ever is going to change. It's always going to be like this, right? So you don't want to be listening to that either. nothing's going to change. That's not true. It's all about divine timing right now. Divine timing. Okay. Anything else for the manifestors? And it will start moving. Like your vitality will come back. Yeah. And even if you've got like a little tiny divine download, like just go like a little tiny thing, start moving forward just to get the momentum and that energy moving, because it is a not self dynamic here. Yeah. And it will bring you freedom. And I know that's a big word for manifestors, is freedom. They want freedom and they want to feel independent and free. Yeah. Okay. And peace. And they want to feel peaceful too. Okay, let's go for the projector. The projectors. And let me know if you're a projector, even on the replay. Okay, projectors, we're talking about the full moon in the 60. The gate of acceptance, the shadow of limitation. And we're going to pick an ego card to see what's blocking you for this full moon. Okay. What do we have for our projector friends? What do we have for our projector friends? Okay. Looks like the projectors have been a bit testy. Okay. And then let's see. Okay. So the projector got the lashing out card. Lash out. Okay. And then the experts. And then the two wands. The two wands about future planning. Okay. Lashing out. Lashing out. Isn't that interesting? So this is a defense pattern. Right? A defense pattern. And if we go, look, the Four of Pentacles there. The Four of Pentacles. Right? He's got that pentacle. It's like a shield over his heart. Right? So it's a defense. I can never spell when I'm doing live streams. I'm a really good speller otherwise. My left brain just goes. Yeah. So it's a defense pattern. This lashing out. Right? So when emotionally triggered or threatened, right, the ego will lash out. The ego will lash out, thinking that that's going to protect your heart, right, to lash out. So if you feel with this card, is like if you feel that someone's getting too close, you'll find something to justify pushing them away. So you want to watch that with the ego. You may explode in fits of rage at times or give people the silent treatment. Yeah, it's all about keeping people away as a projector. And that's the thing, like the divine's not going to waste you, projector, right? Projector aura, just a reminder. And if you're new to human design, like go get your chart. Go get your chart right now. Put it on pause and get your chart. That projectors are for the other. we're here. I'm a projector too. We're here to guide the other types, right? Guide the other types. So this pushing away and lashing out, this is a not self projector, right? And really it's about a fear of getting hurt, right? Fear of getting your heart broken. Yeah. So this is limiting you, this dynamic. And you may say, well, I'm not doing that. It's everybody around me's doing it to me. They're lashing out at me. They're giving me the silent treatment. Well, it takes two to slam dance, right? It means that it's also in you. There's a mirroring going on, right? But it's really, you have a part to play in it too, this dynamic. It's showing you where you do that, right? You cut yourself off from other people. And really you're cutting yourself off from yourself, right? Okay. And then the experts. The experts. This is the conditioning, right? You got the ego card. The ego card here. So in terms of projectors, I really feel with this dynamic, with the experts, okay, this is the not self way. This is the cross of planning. Is to give your authority over to the people that have that 16, that have the skills. They focused on the skills. They went to indoctrination school, and then they proceeded to get their masters in indoctrination school, and then they became experts in indoctrination school, and then they taught other people, indoctrinated them, right? These are the so-called experts. And they were very successful in the cross of the sleeping phoenix, or planning, I mean. Very successful, because that's how the program worked. It rewarded people, right, to do this. Rose to the top of their field. They specialize. They're experts. So you may be feeling at this time, maybe this is a limitation for you. Well, I need to have qualifications, right? I need to play this game of the cross of planning, and the cross of planning is the Titanic going down. This is old. The 60 is about letting go of the old ways, right? This is the old way. Nobody will listen to me as a projector unless I'm an expert, right? I'm an expert and I've been recognized as an expert. And then people will listen to me. And this is the not self BS. It's not self BS. Because really, your qualifications, it's in your aura. That's your qualifications. Everything's there in your aura, right? So this is about trusting, right? Trusting yourself, your experiences that you've had so far in your life, your passions that you followed. Remember the Sleeping Phoenix 3420, the channel of charisma. It's about following your passions. That's the new way of doing life where you'll be successful, right? So, and let people, there's going to be not self people that will still, right? How dare you? You're not an expert, right? You have nothing to share. You have nothing of value to give to me. Let them go, right? If they want to follow that game and follow an expert, right? So be it. But that's going to make room for your people to find you, right? The ones that they don't give their power over to experts. They want your advice, right? They want your guidance. They'll recognize you. So that's what I feel. Maybe there's some anger about that a little bit, of being not, I know as a projector, it hurts not to be recognized, right? Yeah, and your challenge is not to let it affect your sense of self-worth. You have to know your worth during this time, right? The projectors are heading up to the tippy top. They're heading up to the tippy top. It means the projectors are the new leaders, right? And they're a different kind of leader. It's a very humble position. Yeah. So you need to be okay with the people they don't recognize you, right? And even though you know, it's like, I've got gold here for them. I have gold and gems here. Take it, right? I want to help you, right? I have no ulterior motive other than to help you. And still they'll go, no, I'm going to go to the expert over there, right? Then that's okay. You got to be okay with that. Yeah. So this lashing out could be a response to this. Maybe just look at that, this full moon, projectors. It's like, where am I lashing out? Or other people are lashing out at me or giving me the silent treatment. Right? Just to take it inside and to accept it. Remember? It's the gate of acceptance. I'm just going to accept it. And I'm going to surrender. I'm going to surrender to my soul. Right? And just wait for the divine timing. Right? There's divine timing at play. There's all this orchestration, divine orchestration that's got to take place. You know, people have to be ready for you, and then you're ready for them, and there's all these things that have to be in place, and that's the divine timing, and then the mutation can happen. The miracle can happen. But meanwhile, you've got the Two of Wands. So this is about making plans, right? Making plans, future plans. What do you need to make to bring your ideas into fruition? Maybe even just contemplate on what you would like in your future. And how can you set yourself up for success? Well, you see right there is the wand. And the wand is like a tree, right? So there's many options with the Two of Wands. It's like you want to make your choice. This is the wand that I'm choosing, this one right here. And then commit to it. Don't get pulled away by this, I have to be an expert thing, you know? Expertise will not be valued in the future. It's all going to be about experience. We're moving into a 6-line theme. It's all about experience, what our experience is. Okay, anything else for that? And just trust that it's your time. It's your time. And the divine's not going to isolate you and waste you as a projector. No, you're for the other types. Right? The alarm is sounding now. It's time to choose and prepare for what's coming as we come closer into 2027. Okay. And let's go for the reflectors. We got that like this. The reflectors. And please let me know if you're a reflector, because you're so rare. You're only 1%. 1%. Okay. So we're talking about the full moon in the 60. The gate of acceptance. And the shadow of limitation reflectors. Okay. And reflectors want to be surprised and delighted by their life. They've got the resistant and sampling aura. They're here to sample the program. And they're going to be in the buffet soon with 2027 coming. They're going to be in the buffet of energy. So that big energy shifts are coming, reflectors. And you're probably already sensing it as a reflector. So what's the ego telling the reflector? What's the ego telling our reflector friends about limitation and surrender, and to give something to focus on? Oh, it's a little bit like the MG, actually. And let's just do one tarot. Okay. Oh, okay. Like I said before, I really like the reflectors because they're kind of like the wrap-up, the epilogue, of the other types. The other types. So you've got the suppression, the suppression card, and then the White Knight, and then the Ten of Cups. Everyone loves the Ten of Cups. So this is a suppression. Is the suppression of your energy. It so fits with this Four of Pentacles. His energy is suppressed. Right? He's got those pentacles hiding his heart, his crown chakra, and then he's very rooted in the material. So this is about you not being you. Right? Not expressing your authenticity. Right? And remember, your authenticity is so important for the cross of the sleeping phoenix, and you're not expressing it, right? Because it's an energy that moves. It's moving. That's the impulse of your soul. It's a movement. It wants to be expressed. And what are you doing? You're suppressing it as a reflector. Well, it's going to distortion. It's going to create a distortion. And this is the not self. So, of course, it's going to lead to suffering, right? It's going to lead to suffering. Right there. Because there's an ancient spiritual teaching, what you don't deliver will destroy you, right? So this is if you're suppressing your authenticity and it's not moving, right? And it gets all distorted and you're not delivering it, it's going to destroy you. It will destroy you. So that could be through your health, your relationships, right? The not self completely takes over. That's your ego completely takes over. Yeah. So this is like if your intuition is communicating something to you, like your soul communicating something to you and you're blocking it, right? Then the mind. So here's the thing. Your intuition is like, you need to connect with this person. In whatever way. It's like, I need to connect with this person. But you're ignoring it. You're suppressing that energy. Then what happens is the mind becomes obsessive. Right? So your mind's obsessively thinking about that person, trying to get your attention. But it's distorted. That's how things get distorted. Instead of just acting from the impulse of your soul, right? So the advice here is just to make a baby step. Make a baby step. What's my soul telling me? I'm going to make a little baby step. Maybe my baby step is like, okay, I have to contact that person. I'm going to see if they're in my contact list on my phone. Right? If not, I'll try to get their phone number or their email address or whatever, like little baby steps. And that will start to move the energy of authenticity. You don't have to do it all at once, right? Baby steps. And then you've got the White Knight. The White Knight, and this is the ego that says this is codependency, right? So the ego is telling you maybe that only I can save them, right? Only I can save them. And who's saying that is the ego, not self, right? Because you can't save anybody. Really, that's the truth. You can't save anybody, especially if they don't want to be helped, right? This is totally codependency 101. So this is going into sacrifice. Maybe you're going into sacrifice. Maybe it's connected to this suppression, right? Suppressing the truth and your authenticity. My authenticity is like, no, I don't want to help that person. I know that they don't want my help, right? They refuse to take any help whatsoever. Maybe they're struggle with addictions. They don't want help. But there you are, you're suppressing, right? You're suppressing your authenticity. That's saying no. So what's happening here? Maybe you're overly focused on another person. It's really about bringing your focus back to yourself. Reflector, bring this focus back to yourself. especially if you're overly obsessed with helping another person, then you want to bring your focus back to yourself. That's the lesson. Because it's just an avoidance technique by the ego, like to keep you focused on the external, outside of you, and so that you're not dealing with your own pain. So this could be a limitation, right? With that 60, this is about, so it's about accepting. Oh my God, it's like I'm so in that energy, right? I'm just going to accept it. And I'm going to surrender more into the divine, into my soul. Surrender, surrender, surrender. And then the mutation will happen. It will be transcended, right? Yeah. And it's about avoiding your destiny too, right? Because we can't save people. Not now. People are making their choices now, right? It's the bifurcation of consciousness. People are making their choices. They're either committing to their spiritual journey or they're committing to the old way in the mind and the ego, right? It's really that simple. Okay, and then what's waiting for you is the Ten of Cups. There's the Ten of Cups. And this is happiness. And so what I said with the Four of Pentacles, remember the Sun and the Devil, which is the ego. The Four of Pentacles correlates to that. Sun's going to lead you to happiness. Ego will lead you to suffering and suppression and all that stuff that I talked about. So you want to be surrendering it to the divine, surrendering to that person maybe you're overly fixated on, over to the divine, so that you can really bring in your happiness, right? It's a block to your happiness. So time to let that go, right? It's a limit. It's a limitation. Okay, so that's what I have for everybody. And thank you for your time and watching. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And keep in mind that the Soul Purpose Online Retreat, you really want to, this is my 7th one, that you really want to check it out. Because it brings, if you talk about mutation, it brings mutation, and it's going to be a deep dive into your chart. And you can really get clear on your soul purpose, because we're needed now. We're needed at the time of waiting and, looking at your watch and your phone, like, when's it going to happen? Well, it's happening. Okay? So I will see you in the next video, and take care. Satnam Aloha. Bye-bye, everybody.